This programme looks at techniques for teaching non-fiction at Key Stage 4, with a special focus on travel writing. At Parliament Hill Girls' School, we see English teacher Ava Huiris teach 2 lessons with her mixed ability Year 10 class. To plan the lesson, she is helped by Barbara Blyman, advisory teacher at the English and Media Centre in London.
At Key Stage 4, non-fiction text types have been divided into what's called triplets, and the triplets put together clusters of purposes for non-fiction writing. For instance, argue, persuade, advise. In recent years we've gone a bit overboard in terms of teaching all the features of text types, and I think perhaps now we just need to find a happy medium and to find a sort of slightly more balanced approach to teaching non-fiction.
We're looking at travel writing today, and specifically at how perhaps travel writing does more than it fits more than one purpose. So travel writing can inform and explain and describe.
I think that's great, because then you're opening it up a bit more for them. Ava's somebody who I have known for a long time because I actually taught her A-level myself, and she's now become a teacher. We work together really to think about some of the issues around non-fiction teaching. Travel writing's a really good genre to use because it just covers such a huge range of different kinds of writing. You get travel writing that is almost like fiction. It's kind of autobiographical, it's literary, it tells stories. You get the travel feature in a newspaper, you get the guidebook. So you have really such a wide range of different types of texts to offer students. Really all of the text types that are covered in the triplets you could find demonstrated within travel writing.
We're going to start with an activity on the board where I sort of remind them about what are the different contexts in which we can find travel writing. I'm then going to read a couple of pieces to them from the whiteboard and get them to think about what's the main purpose of this piece of writing.
In front of you, has everyone got like a pile of yellow card in front of them? Do you want to take the clip off, the paper clip?
I gave them a stack of cards with different purposes printed on them, so inform, explain, describe, entertain, so they can think about the different purposes for which texts are written.
Well, I'm going to read you a piece of travel writing, and I want you to have a think about what the sort of main purpose of it is. All the different types of purposes for which texts are written. Are you ready for it? The sounds are the brisk swish of a broom onto tummy matting, the raucous cawing of hooded crows in a nearby willow grove, a clickety-clackety rattle of chattering housewives, a sound like briskly plied knitting needles. What do you think it's doing? Describe, entertain, good, that last bit's quite funny, isn't it? When a travel writer sits down, he doesn't have the triplets in front of him, does he? And he doesn't go, or she. They don't say, right, well today I'm just aiming to do one thing.
Ava took a very short bit from a text by Angela Carter, so a really strong bit of writing. And it was very obvious right from the start that there were a range of purposes. So immediately she was knocking down that idea that somehow every text has a single purpose. Having looked in previous lessons, certainly at Key Stage 3, at purposes in a slightly narrower way, they were actually now having to apply that to the real world and how real writers work. Ava then went on and she gave groups different texts to work on.
The first one's an email, quite a funny email about travelling.
Well, I'm finally here in Big Bad Tokyo. I was really lucky that Mino, a Japanese friend of a friend, could meet me off the airport express train, as arriving in Tokyo with jet lag is a passport to a world of confusion.
The second text is from The Independent on Sunday.
Pre-ultimate hotspots for true luxury lovers. Some destinations never lose their sparkle. The editors of Travel Guide Nota Bene give their pick of the best.
The last piece will be from a website.
A couple of months ago I enjoyed a hellish family vacation in Colorado. We had gone to the Rockies to ski for a week.
Are you out of your mind now? That's a rhetorical question, isn't it?
Yeah. The varying of sentences. Think about it is really short and then that bit's really long.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And you should now be doing the text type grid, your column in it, and then we're going to feed back in about 4 minutes, okay?
T is for text type, Was it from a newspaper? Is it from the web? A for audience, so who is it written for? And then obviously P is for purpose, so what is it aiming to do? And then obviously they have to think about the triplets and, you know, the purposes for which a text is written. I think they do appreciate texts that are from real writers and aren't just made specifically to illustrate that the text is written for one purpose. For a lot of these girls, some of them have barely been outside of London, so I think it's very important for us to sort of, you know, have a look at these texts that kind of broadening their horizons. It's more for them to kind of aspire to and think about, and I think lots of them do want to do travelling when they're older.
In Ava's lesson, one of the groups was looking at a really very challenging text, and they then fed back and presented it to the rest of the group. Now, that's not something that every group would have been able to cope with, but by singling out particular groups for particular texts, she was able to actually really challenge every student.
It was from the Lonely Planet website, so it was a bit of writing that was separate from an actual review. It was just about a writer. So we said it was kind of an autobiography, a novel and a journal at the same time. We said, for the audience, we said they'd be quite sceptical adults with maybe a bit of a dry sense of humour or something.
Okay, so it's a bit witty and funny, isn't it? It is.
When you go into a classroom with work around travel writing, you're not kind of just going through the motions. It's about actually encountering fun, lively texts and really enjoying the work in the same way one would with a really good short story. One of the things that's really important about teaching non-fiction is to relate the reading of it to the writing of it. I think the two really, really inform each other.
The second lesson, I started off with modelling quite a humorous piece about an area of London that I live in.
What would I be aiming to do with this piece of writing? The key words kind of give you a clue, don't they? Becky?
I think it's useful in any task that students are asked to write to actually let them step back from it a little bit and have an overview of what it is they're trying to do.
I'll do some describe. I'll also be informing though, won't I? Lauren?
Maybe persuade them to go there.
It might be a little bit persuasive, it might be, if what I say is good.
By recognising that there may be a range of purposes, you might get away from some of that very, very dull writing. I'm writing to inform, but I'm going to try and make it as, you know, lively and interesting as I possibly can in order that the person I'm informing goes away and remembers some of it.
When you're describing, very often you need to rely on sensory language. Okay, do you remember? We're going to do a bit of a mind map.
They really need to see the process that you go through to get to the end product. So then if I do it for them, then I think they'll feel ready to kind of go ahead with it.
Six senses. So what I can taste, what I can hear, what's bad here, what I can see.
You're kind of letting them in then, aren't you, to the process, your thought processes as you write.
Okay, what can I see? Well, guys, at this point I might bring a bit of my anecdote in, because actually what I can see is sort of puddles of sort of testosterone-filled kind of men sort of lurking about, kind of leering a little bit. And that might be a bit funny if I describe it that way. So what can I hear? Naisha, give me something that I can hear while I'm sort of wandering down.
Noises.
Good, yeah.
The people yelling.
The people yelling. Also, the sort of buzz of lots of different languages, because that's something that I love about things with part, the fact that it's so mixed. How might I be feeling then? What sort of emotions might I be
Not
doing?
very good.
Not very good. So mixed emotions? And in the exam, I always want you to plan for at least 10 minutes. You've got that amount of time. I've got the sensory language, but I've also built in an anecdote and a bit of humour. You're going to do this very same thing, okay, for an area of London that both of you know.
I think they really respond to modelling.
Yeah, because it's a mixture. I mean, you were modelling it quite strongly for them, showing them exactly how you go about it, but you were also drawing them in.
It's something that they find very, very helpful, boosts confidence. I'm trying to do it more generally in my lessons.
it's useful to see Miss doing the planning because we get an idea of what we should and shouldn't do and then just change the ideas to make our own.
From my plan, I then started to sort of write a little bit. I wondered how this little bit of London came to be. The ethnic diversity is a real strength, and it reminds me how very narrow life seemed whilst growing up on a Greek island. Here I was thinking of trying to link up the idea that it's raining, so the mood of the environment's affecting me. Do you remember you did that in Jane Eyre?
What you have in the classroom is usually one quite experienced writer, the teacher, and a group of relatively inexperienced writers. And the more that the teacher can lay bare the process for students, the more they can learn from the teacher and from their experience.
How I wanted them to sort of take hold of that and do their own thing was they had to use their mind maps to then plan out a piece that was a positive spin and a negative spin.
So we have a tourist, an advert for a tourist information centre, and it's to attract visitors. So what's it trying to do, Catherine?
Persuade.
It will. The other is a letter. It's a different format, isn't it? One's an advert, one's a letter. To a local newspaper, setting out the problems in your area.
One of the things that she did was to start the writing process actually in the class rather than, okay, now you're going to go home and do it for your homework. And that allowed her to kind of begin to intervene in the writing process. And I think that thing of actually using at least some class time to workshop writing is a helpful thing to do.
Holloway is a diverse, mixed and lively area with lots of character. You can eat for a low price and shop for just about anything. Yeah, so it has fumes, traffic and a bustle of people trying to push past and get to where they want to go, but there's so much action that it's just a great place to be.
One of the good things about travel writing, using it to kind of focus on pupils' own area, it's something that they will know a huge amount about, and the raw material is there. And then it's a question of what you do with it, how you manipulate it, how you turn it for different audiences and different purposes.
I'm a senior citizen and I think I have the right to be able to walk through London's finest street without having to feel claustrophobic and overwhelmed by those young, trendy kids. They seem to have no respect for those older than them. They crowd the streets and buses being rowdy and loud, quite disgraceful. In my days, Oxford Street was a pleasant place to shop, and that doesn't mean we didn't socialise, we just weren't as noisy.
Excellent.
I think by the end of that sequence of 2 lessons, the students will have got quite a bit further in terms of a more sophisticated and complex view of how non-fiction works. They'll have been drawing on what they see real writers doing in terms of their own writing. And I think the planning process in particular, I think Ava really gave them a lot of support by modelling for them how she would go about writing a piece of non-fiction.
From the work that they produced, I think that they did, the pieces were less stilted and they lose lots of features of descriptive writing, which is what they need to do.
It seems really important to me that students should be given something that's fun and engaging and exciting to look at, and that's what real texts do. And travel writing, I think, is particularly good for that because it does offer them kind of exciting other worlds to look at. But also you can apply it for their own writing quite closely to their own locality, to their own world, and let them write about something that they know intimately, know really, really well.
Good, well done. You did really, really well today. I'm really proud of you. Off you go.